After repurchasing the UnderSun Resistance loop bands for a test I'm running right now, and then comparing them against my 4-year-old UnderSun bands, which is why I bought a new pair to do the test, I am not happy with the quality of the bands that they are making now. And this is upsetting as I have been an advocate for them over the past 4 years. I really did like their old bands. I still do, but if they're selling bad bands now, I really can't help to promote them any longer, and I will be moving to other ones, such as these Serious Steel bands. And yes, those bands are pretty expensive, but if you compare them to the current UnderSun bands, they are a night and day difference. The older style bands are actually kind of close. While the tension isn't as high as the Serious Steel, at least the quality is pretty close to the Serious Steel bands, but these new UnderSun bands just do not cut it, and I'm gonna go over that now. So my first reason I no longer like these bands is they seem to have a relax feature about them. What I mean by that is when I do an exercise, at first the resistance does increase normally, so it has variable resistance with resistance bands. It increases the tension, say, as you go through a bicep curl, but once you get to that fully stretched position, in the contracted position of the exercise, for some reason it feels like the resistance lets go if you hold it there for a second or two. And this is a big problem because as I stretch the band, I don't want resistance to feel like it disappears. I want it to stay there as long as possible because when you put more slack in the band, more tension is lost, meaning there is less tension on the muscle doing the work, which is already the biggest issue with the bands, so making it worse when you're in the fully contracted position is a big problem. Now, when I use my older bands, this doesn't happen, so I don't know what changed from the older bands to the current bands, but something has changed in the build of them that I don't like. So for the next thing I don't really like is that I noticed they seem to have a slight black coating on them. I'm not sure what this is from, and it's kind of interesting because if you actually look throughout the band, there are parts of it that don't have the same coating. So something in the manufacturing of it is coating it with like that blackish material, and then certain parts of it are probably like covered or not exposed, allowing the black stuff to get on it. But do know I am seeing it. I don't know what it is. I'm not able to like rub it off or anything, but it's weird that it's like on most of the band, but on parts of it, it doesn't actually hit it as well. Now, I ran a quick test with my wife to see which bands she would pick if I had her do a workout. And almost immediately, she went for the 4-year-old bands just because visually they look more appealing, and after touching them, she also thought they had a more premium feel. And this, again, is apparent even for those who aren't using the bands like I am all the time. She can tell right away which one has a premium build versus one that I feel like is lacking in that department. So I don't know what they've changed recently, but they really need to go back to what they were doing before. I don't know if they're cutting corners, changed manufacturing, or what, but this is just not up to par with what these bands used to be. However, the old ones, for what they are excellent, and I feel like are a good price as well for what they were. Yes, they didn't have the high tension like the new Serious Steel bands do, but they were a quality band product that I think anyone, especially beginners, could pick up and use while saving some money. However, I really can't promote them any longer, and I will be moving to the Serious bands moving forward, unless maybe something changes, but it's going to be hard for me to even get to purchase them again, unless maybe they reach out to me and want to have me test them again with the changes that I mentioned. So another thing I went and looked at was the price 4 years ago to today. So when I went on Amazon, I looked at my old purchasing order, and that one came out to $88.95. Now when I purchased them in Washington, or when I look at the Amazon sales page, before taxes, it's now $79.99, so that $80 price tag. So that's what, a like $9-ish drop in the price over 4 years for a worse quality product. I feel like this should be a lot cheaper, especially with 4-year-old style bands. I feel like they should be a lot cheaper. I know inflation is keeping things up, but there's no way I'd want to pay $80 again for these things. I'm probably going to return them as well, make this video and then return them, just because they are just not up to the quality of bands that I need. Now, when it comes to support, I have not reached out to them personally at this time. I'm just not going to even bother. The bands are just so bad. I'm just going to, again, either return them or just trash them probably. But there are people in my comments section who have gone and told me that they have reached out to support. I guess even that's lacking now. So that was their one saving grace a long time ago. If you haven't seen it, I actually snapped the X Small Band in the very first purchase I had from UnderSun, and I reached out to support and they replaced it immediately. So I was like, okay, their support's awesome. I had no problems. But I guess people have been snapping bands and trying to replace stuff and talk to them, even get in contact with them, and it's not happening. So again, I have not reached out to them myself, but from the reports I'm receiving, it doesn't sound good. My big complaint is just with the bands themselves, but if support is also not there, I don't know what to say to this company. I feel like they're going to fall fast if this keeps up any longer. So they really need to figure out what's going on and change their ways. So that's a quick update on the UnderSun Bands and how I've went from praising them to not wanting to use them at all. And that's a big, it hurts to say that because, again, I really did like them over the years, over those 4 years, but just this recent purchase, which is not something I enjoyed opening, unfortunately. So again, I am moving to Serious Steel, which have worked great so far. It actually just kicked my butt this week using them. So check those videos out and keep up with the 3-month test that I'm running. And then take a look in the description to see all of the equipment I'm currently recommending for a resistance bands home gym.